Hello and welcome to Tuesday, Fundamental Tuesday. I'm Shades, your host, and we are about to get started. Yeah, anyways, it's 6 o'clock, a little after 6. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Not that any of you are sticklers for time. But I was eating a Warhead. What was like? I had one. I should like grab it for you. But it was a Warhead icicle pop, like like Otter Pops. It's a Warhead version, like sour. I love sour stuff. So I was like, oh, this would be great. First one I had was horrible, absolutely horrendous, and I actually didn't eat them for 6 months afterwards because those things are like Twinkies. They could last for like 20 years or something like that. But just had one again today, and it was beautiful. It was amazing. It was really palatable, and it actually made me a minute late for this broadcast because of it. Because I had to, it was red, and it got all over my teeth because that's what happens. It's like wine, and I have to look pretty for you all or something. Anyways, I'm here. We're ready, and tonight, this is Fundie Tuesday number 3. This is part of our 3-week episode I will be doing over the main roles classified by me that I put into it. So tonight will be an introduction to support, the support class. And then next week will be introduction into carry, and then after that, the final will be introduction into ganker, initiator, or initiator tank. Really, and just throw them all. Actually, the ganker. I think my tongue is red. Oh, that's crazy. Anyways, then I approve. Ganker I usually lump in with carry, initiator, tank is their own category. So today's support, which honestly I feel is the most important role in this game, and today you are going to learn why, and you're also going to learn how to get the basics and fundamentals down of support, as well as actually we won't be going over any heroes. I'll actually be looking at a number of heroes. We're going to be actually watching some pro games today. Whoa! Because if you're going to learn how to do something, you should try to learn from the best. So it's always nice to watch pro games, see what the pros do, try to emulate them, and step up your game. First off, oh my goodness, I have my notes. My notes are crazy. So I actually prepared for this week's one. Last week's I kind of just coasted, I guess you would say. I was like, I have this idea. I want to do an introduction. I did the introduction the first week. I really had no idea what I need to do for last week. It was that week or whatever, and I was like, I don't know what to do. But I don't want to start my role thing for some reason because I haven't really prepared because I was lazy. But I still want to, if I miss a week, God forbid I miss a week and this stupid casting stuff, people would just stop viewing me. Yeah, anyway, so not coasting like last week, actually prepared so I could give you guys a legit introduction to support. So this is going to be an introduction, very, very basics. There's many, many things that you can go into support. Obviously, you should never really feel that you've stopped learning how to play support because you'll always be learning in this game, whether it's how to play your support just a little bit better. There's always ways to optimize, always ways to optimize. I think it was like Eternal Envy was saying that, who's the pro himself, was watching, other pros and everything, and say that when he watches pros, it's weird to him because it's not like StarCraft 2, as he says, and certain other games where maybe it's more of like a solo-esque game or a very, very, what do I call it, like a not synchronized game, I guess, but systematic game in the sense that you, like StarCraft 2, your build order is very, very determined early on in the game, and so it's very strict and everything, and you're really trying to get the max out of very minimum effort, basically, which obviously a better word for that. You're trying to optimize everything because the more you optimize, the better, the better advantage you have over your team or your enemy, not team. StarCraft is personal, or it's usually 1v1. The better advantage you have over your enemy, and that will give you the win. Obviously, obviously playing the right counters, microing, macroing, and all that stuff goes into it. But optimizing is very, very key. And so Eternal Envy was saying was that a lot of the pros, he feels, don't purely optimize. I mean, a lot goes into Dota 2. I feel like it's unlike just being a chess match, one person on one person. You're having to deal with 4 other teammates, and going against a team that's, you know, it's five teammates, and you're all trying to work together. So it's like you're all trying to optimize together, and so it's just, it can be this big chaotic jumble mess, and you have to sometimes pick your battles and just go with it. So it feels, you know, pros don't always optimize, and there's always room to grow. And so that's what I'm saying now, is this will be an introduction to support, give you a base fundamental, the base fundamentals to get you started in support, and actually really make you, I feel, with what's coming in this episode, a great support to really go into public matchmaking, or even just, you know, a team of, say, friends or low-end teams like that, to get you really in there doing great support things and having a great support mindset from the beginning. And then from that, you're going to be learning yourself, watching pros, learning from them, and all that stuff. And maybe, you know, future episodes will be coming back to specific supports and going over little tweaks and stuff to optimize everywhere that we can, because that is the goal, is to always optimize, always learn in this ever-evolving Dota 2 game. So first, before we get started, I know we're talking about support, but I actually wanted to go over a couple things, because I know I was running through this and I was like, oh, I'm going to talk about this, I'm going to talk about that, and I realized it's like, okay, well, I don't want to make an episode for what, you know, I'm about to talk about, which is just like three simple things, like three simple fundamentals that I feel are for this game. I don't want to make an episode just for that, because I feel it'll be like 10 minutes or something. So I'm just gonna push it into this episode, and I'll always mention them, but just so that they're here now somewhere, you know, are archived in a video somewhere. So 3 things, fundamental things that I always talk about. 2 of these things I feel are fundamental to life in general. Take that with a grain of salt. It's all personal and everything like that. But I used to be a Kung Fu instructor, and, you know, obviously when you're a Kung Fu instructor, teaching self-defense and all that jizzle jam and everything like that. And for self-defense, yeah, okay, you're learning moves, you're learning how to protect yourself. You know, if someone comes at you with this attack, you defend with this. If someone comes at you with this attack, you defend with this. But the thing is if you're really trying to just learn self-defense techniques, I know this is going all the way from Dota 2, but believe me, I'll bring it back. I'll bring this tangent back. Just bear with me. If you're always just trying to learn how to do techniques, and let's wrap it into Dota right now. If you're always trying to learn how to counter a specific hero with another specific hero, if you're always learning to do the counter, if you're always learning, you know, what attack is coming for you, what defense are you doing, there's so many different variations that you're going to go over, or that you're going to have to go over. It's impossible to have a set defensive technique or a set, you know, Dota 2 counter to something that happens, because there's infinite possibilities. So there's no real way you can do it. So I mean, obviously, you know, you can still learn basics, and you can still learn abstract ideas from certain self-defense techniques and certain Dota 2 counters. And that's, you know, like this episode where we're talking about like the fundamentals, that's really what you're going to be pulling out of, and that's really what I'm going to try to be, you know, driving home into you. And so especially with these first 2 ones, these are very, very abstract, that I feel can be applied to not just Dota 2, not just Kung Fu or self-defense, but to life as general. And they are positioning and awareness, 2 most top things that I always stress and teach. Because the thing is let's shout them out. They're like, well, positioning and awareness, that could mean anything. Okay, positioning and awareness. What do I mean by positioning and awareness? What do I want to start with? Let's start with awareness. Okay, so awareness is being aware of your surroundings. So, you know, having your eyes up, knowing what's around you. Okay, it's 9 o'clock at night. You're trying to get home. It's dark out. There's, you know, lights over here. There's, you know, just knowing where, basically being aware of like, okay, here's potential. This is Kung Fu oriented. Here's potential, or self-defense oriented. There's potential attack points or, you know, like scary points where you don't want to go to, and here's, you know, maybe safer spots and everything like that, or here's the people that I can see, you know, here's blind spots that I can't see, certain stuff like that. And in Dota 2, awareness is being, you know, basically aware of like the mini map, aware of, okay, where are their heroes, where's my heroes, what are they doing, You know, it's being aware of the time. Is it time for rush? Is it that time for that transition into phase 2 or mid game? Is it transitioning? Is it transitioning to ganking? Just being aware. So that's simply awareness. Just being aware of your surroundings, and that is infinitesimal to or applicable to everything. The next thing is positioning, Positioning and awareness go hand in hand. But let me just talk about positioning first. Positioning is where are you? Like positioning yourself. So say if it's Kung Fu, self-defense oriented. Positioning is, okay, so I know I need to get to, here's point A, I need to get point B, but in between, let's say point C, there's this crazy spot that I shouldn't go, no one should ever walk through because it's just a dark alley and there's, you know, you're going to get shot in it. But we'll just, you know, hyperbole it. So I'm going to, you know, position myself around it so I don't get in there. Or I know that this guy looks dangerous, so I'm going to position myself on this side of the room. Or this guy looks shady or whatever, and I mean, not to get into judgments, that's a whole nother thing. But, you know, you're using your mind, your positioning, to position yourself into a smart position that you feel safe and good. Same thing in Dota 2. Positioning. Knowing, being like, okay, well, all the team is up and pressing my tower, and I'm going to position myself in the back tower because I know they're going to just roll through that tower and they can just dive me and totally get a kill off me. Or I'm going to position myself in between, you know, actually like I should say, like for today support, I'm going to position myself so that my carry is in front of the other team and me. So I'm here, I'm here, here's the carry, here's the enemy team. Me, carry, team. So that the carry can just wipe over the enemy team and I'm free and safe to do whatever I want. So that's positioning. Now, obviously, like I said, positioning and awareness go hand in hand, because how do you know where to position yourself is if you're not aware of your surroundings. So if you're like, well, I'm going to position myself here, how do you know that's a good spot? You need to have the awareness. And what's the point of having awareness if you're not going to position yourself right? Oh, hey, I know they're all missing. I'm still going to run straight into their... I'm still, you know, just... Okay, well, sorry. I was just going crazy, but let me paint it this way. So I'm aware that their whole entire team is missing, and I am positioned in the enemy's jungle. We have no wards up, and I know they're all missing. I'm just gonna sit here. What's the position of having awareness if you're not gonna position yourself based off on that awareness? So positioning and awareness, two of the most fundamental things in Dota 2 as well as in life in general. Use them, use them, be aware of them, be aware of them, be aware of them. You positioning and awareness, do it. The third thing for this trifecta of fundamentals is really just Dota 2, very specific to Dota 2, because where else are you going to use a TP scroll in real life? That would be awesome if they had it, but they don't. So TP scroll, always have a TP scroll. Really, like if you watch the pros, they have it. Now, obviously, you know, when you're first, maybe not obviously, but when you're first starting and you're getting your starting items, a lot of the times you'll see that they don't get TP scrolls from the get-go. There's no real need for it when you're just starting off, because you're going into your assigned lanes and everything like that, and you know they're pretty much the other teams going to their assigned lanes and all that good stuff. So you don't really need to TP back and forth real quick. But you will see that usually the second or third item that they buy after that is a TP scroll. So you should be picking it up as soon as you can. And then as soon as you're using it, you should be trying to refresh it and get a new one, grabbing a new one so that you have a TP scroll at you all the time. And we've seen in actually the past episode why TP scroll is so useful, but it is also so useful for your team. Because imagine this, you're at a tower and you're thinking, okay, well, why are towers so safe? Okay, well, they shoot the enemy team, but say there's 3 people, say there's even 4, they can kill you much faster than a tower will take one of them out. True, this is very true. But this is where positioning, awareness, and a TP scroll comes in. If 4 people are pressuring you on a tower and your team is aware of it and they have a TP scroll, they're going to reposition themselves, and you will see pros do it, and it is so beautiful when they do it, and it's like it proves my point. It just drives it home. So you should always have one. They'll TP in to support that lone person at the tower, and now you have a 5v4 battle or a 4v4 battle or whatever. You have a legit battle that you can do at that tower, and it's amazing, and it's great. So positioning, awareness, TP scroll, all that good jazz. So that's it. I took over a little 10 minutes, whatever, so sue me. Now let's get into support. So, introduction to support. So, what is support? It's support. There's two classifications of support off of the Dota 2 wiki and kind of what Valve uses as distinguishing different roles. You see a support role and you see a lane support role. I'm going to give you some quotations. I don't know, maybe you guys like definitions or something like that. So quotation, let's see. Support can focus less on amassing gold and items and more on using their abilities to gain an advantage for the team. Support. Lane support. Helpful in the early game laning and protecting your team's carry. Support. Okay, it really is just support. Support basically is, I mean, obviously you're not farm dependent, which means you're not item dependent. You have your 4 abilities, you know, some of them might be passive, and through those abilities you're going to be healing your team, disabling the enemy team, which is enabling your team to not get disabled or to take down the other team faster, giving mana back to your team, blocking magic for them, all sorts of great stuff that you can do as a support. So I don't like it sometimes when people say they have no disables, they are not a support. Support is not just on disables. There's actually a whole sub role that is called disabler. Yeah, support isn't just about disable. Support is about so much more. It's about being there for your team. It's about supporting your team, making sure that you can nuke someone down so that your carry can only take a couple hits off of them and kill them super quick. Disabling them so your carry doesn't have to worry about taking damage back or getting disabled themselves. Healing so your carry can just stay in the fight longer. Spreading mana so that more support people, as well as gankers, as well as your whole team, can just use mana and use nukes over and over and over again and just do great stuff. So support is great. You'll usually see a lot of this in the laning phase because the support will, you know, carries are very well known for being super soft and weak in the early game because they're very farm dependent and very item dependent to become strong. So supports who are usually stronger in the early game have to babysit, and this is where lane support comes into, is that they babysit the carries and they make it, you know, easy for them to farm in their lane in the early phase of the game so that they can start getting stronger faster, easier, and all that stuff, and support is supporting them and healing them and keeping them in the lane, keeping them refreshed on health and mana and everything. So lane support is just a subcategory of support that makes a character very good at babysitting a carry in the lane in early game. Okay, later on that lane support will transition into a support anyways because you will transition out of the laning phase afterwards. For this example, lane support, I feel a great lane support is Dazzle because it can heal the carry as well as can heal the creeps, so you know, keep everything up, and then he can also make sure that they don't die with one of his abilities and slow an enemy down to get an early gank or an early first blood or something like that. So lane support, that's why I just wish them all into one thing. So this is an introduction into support. We'll be going over lane stuff as well as support stuff in general. So what does a support role do? Kind of just went over that, but I'm going to go over just in a little more detail. Basically, you assist and help your team. It's really what just supports. Like if you have a support beam, what does it do? It holds up a foundation. It holds up a building. Okay, so your support holds up your team. Your carry carries your team, but the support is what, you know, is holding up the carry. So if you have a weak support, doesn't matter how strong your carry is just not going to. That's an analogy I like to use. It's really well done. A lot of people think like, okay, if I'm a very strong carry, I'm just going to totally wipe out a team, and that'll be great. Sometimes, very rarely, supports are so needed, so needed. Seriously though, help your team. That is your role. You have to help your team. I played last night with a guy who played support and just was so divisive. Just did not want to be a team player. If you're not going to be a team player, you shouldn't play Dota 2 in the first place, let alone play a support, which you really do need to use to help support a team. So other than doing support, is you're going to be the one that buys the courier, upgrading the courier, which I guess went over in the last episode, is the one that ferries the items. You're also going to be buying wards. And we're going to be going over warding today. Is a fundamental thing of support is to ward and to also de-ward. And we'll get into all of that tonight as we go into watching the prod. And then also, a lot of because you're not farm, you're not item dependent, really most of your money is going to be spent on, especially if you're hard support. Remember that the scale. 1 is your we'll go left to right. 1 is your hard carry, so which 1 means they have the priority, top priority for the farm, kills, everything. All that money and stuff goes to them. 5, because there's 5 people on a team. 5 is your hard support, and they have the least priority on money. So you're not going to be getting a lot of cash inflow, but that's okay. Wards are $150 a piece, observer wards, and sentry wards are $200 a piece. Courier is $150, and then $220 for the flying courier. So you can get all this stuff early in the game, and then you're just going to keep replenishing that stuff. That's going to be your priority is wards. As you get more money, because sometimes this will happen, if you get more money, then you can start building it on support items. So you'll buy support items like Mechanism, Arcane Boots, Pipe, Sheepstick, Forestaff, Gunso, Scythe, Vice, all that good stuff like that. You know, you can Cyclone someone, Hex them, all that good stuff. We'll get into that. That's more, you can play with that. Actually, we won't get into that in this episode because I'm talking too much as it is anyways. So we're going to go ahead and start getting into a video because I know you guys have been looking at me for 22 minutes now and it's absolutely ridiculous. I'm sick of me. So we are going to start again by going into support role. Let me just talk a little bit longer into the early game, which I designate as the laning phase. Kind of swap out of that as you go, but early game, so you're typically in your lanes. What does the support do? This is key because this is kind of like the key aspect because this is where you're huge. In the early game, you can be really huge as a support, and I'll show you in the second game how huge supports are when they're in the early game. And also because your carry is very weak in the early game, so you have to make sure that you babysit them, take care of them, take care of your lane. It's like a baby. Like if you nurture it correctly and you let it grow, it's gonna take care of you later on down in life. Okay, you know, right now it can't do much, but you nurture that thing, you put some love into it. When you're 55 years old, you're 60 years old, you're retiring, you're like, I can't go on much longer. That thing's gonna be nice, big, and strong because you put so much nurturing into it, and it's gonna be like, don't worry, Pops, I got you. And it's just gonna carry you, and it's gonna carry you across that finish line, and you're gonna look into its sweet eyes, and a single tear, man tear, will shed, and it will be like, I know, I believed in you. And it'll be like, I did it. We did it, Pops. Okay, anyways. So, I'm crying now. Anyways, that was touching. So, yes. Nurturing your carry, not your courier. You don't want to nurture your courier. Getting wards, de-warding, providing vision, which provides that awareness so that you can position yourself right, and then getting a TP scroll as well, somewhere in there. So, and then also, well, actually, we're going into advanced techniques. 2 advanced techniques. 1 is warding. Where to ward, how to ward, what to do with wards, what is warding, all that good stuff. And then 2, this deals with tri-laning, jump the gun. Pulling the lane is actually something that you should just learn as a basic fundamental for support. And I will go over why pulling the lane and why pulling the lane is important and what the heck pulling the lane is. Because you're like, what, pulling the lane? Okay, so let's go ahead. I got on my face. Let's go ahead and get into it. So this game is this is from the G1 series season 5. It's actually a tournament that is going on right now. You should check it out. You should get a tournament pass if you can. It's pretty cool. So Asian tournament, and this is LGD International versus DK going on. So we have DK on the Radiant side and LG International on the Dire side. This is actually the second game, I believe, in a best of 3 series, and I'm not going to go say how they end so I don't spoil it for you guys, but we are actually going to concentrate. So the game, I've already actually kind of queued this up a little bit. They do Katniss mode, so it takes all this long time. We're really just getting into the phase. It's actually counting down. The game hasn't really begun. Let's go ahead and get it started, and you guys can see. But as you can see, actually the game has gone started. Oh, stupid. So the lane's coming in. Let me go and pause that. So basically what we have is we have a tri-lane bottom. Tri-lane bottom, basically all that means is that you have 3 heroes on the bottom lane. And the reason why you would do this is, actually if we go back into this, is you have 2 supports. You have Shadow Shaman support, and you have Azalar, Keeper of the Light, one of my top supports. in this lane, and you have Juggernaut, a carry in the lane. What this allows is it allows two carries, or I'm sorry, two supports to babysit this carry in case, you know, he has a lot of opposition, which it does turn out he does, because they are doing an offensive tri-lane, meaning they are doing 3 tri-lanes. The reason why this is offensive tri-lane is because usually tri-lanes are in the safe lane. So right here, this is a tri-lane because it's a safe lane tri-lane. This is offensive lane tri-lane because there's an off lane tri-lane for Dire. Anyways, all that technical mobile out of the way. You have a tri-lane over here. So if Juggernaut, or maybe it's just 2 of them, but especially if it was just Juggernaut, you want to leave a carry just by himself. But let's say it was just 2 of them. It was just these 2, and you have a 3v2 on this tri-lane. It's going to be very, very hard for them to really win this lane or to really do much in this lane. So when you have this tri-lane, it gives extra support to this Juggernaut. You can really, really support him, and you'll see how that happens. This also allows for 2 other of your teammates, which is actually growing, depends on things, but it's growing more and more popular for pro play. Allows 2 people to solo so that they can get, and when you solo, you get increased experience and increased farm, so that they can get 2 people up pretty quickly in levels, and then protect their carry, who will get stronger later in the game, and then he can just farm early in the game. So I'm going to be concentrating on these 2 right now, not so much concentrating on this offensive tri-lane. We'll get into that later, but just so we can show where warding and all that stuff. Actually, I want to go back just a little bit further, because this will show warding. So warding, you get wards. I don't know why I switched my face. I really don't. You get wards at the beginning of the game. You can see he has sentry wards. Sentry wards, places of sentry wards, it gives true sight of the surrounding area. So sentry ward gives sight to invisible units and invisible things. Observer wards, and we look at Shadow Shaman, he got the observer wards. Observer wards place an observer ward to give sight of the surrounding area. Basically what this means is observer wards give a circle radius of sight, and it gives sight like a hero was standing there. Okay, but you can't see an observer ward with your naked hero eye. You have to use it's invisible basically, right? So you place down an observer ward. It's like an invisible player is just standing there. It's great. It gives you vision. It gives you all this great stuff. Actually, we can go on and see this. Like this observer ward here that Dire has put down. Basically, what it does. Let's go ahead and give Fog, Radiant, Dire, Fog both teams. Whatever. So Fog's not working. It's gonna give vision all right over here. Okay, so that even if these heroes weren't here, they could still see what is right in this area. It is very, very great for getting view or map awareness, getting sight. Okay, the observer ward, if they were to place that down, you actually wouldn't get that much sight, because observer wards, they give you sight in a specific radius. They give you that full sight. Observer wards, they give you true sight, but they don't provide much sight themselves, so it's not the same. So observer wards you need for getting great sight, for getting all that full circle radius sight, and observer wards are great for using against invisible heroes, which is great in that range, as well as for getting actually counter warding, which is what dewarding is because wards are invisible. You place that true sight ward, observer or sentry ward down, you can then see the opposing team's observer ward, and then you can take out their sight. So that's warding and dewarding. We'll go into the actual examples of it. So this is a ward placed down here. Just right click where you want to put it, and you'll notice that the ward went here. It usually goes on top of this rock, and we'll see where the where this radiant side puts their ward. It'll probably go around here, and then same thing on the other side. Is that you can put a ward here. You notice like these little eye things? There is an eye thing right here, and there's an eye thing right here. You know what I like to say about those? That's a great place to ward, so put a ward down there. You can also put it across on the other side as well. You can put it up here and everything like that. You'll also notice there's an eye right here on this stump, and this stump over here has an eye. Another great place to ward. You won't typically do that ward initially. You actually will do it later when you pushed into the game. We'll go on to that. So that's where you kind of ward. And what you'll notice too is if you go back to our first Fundie Tuesday, a rune spawns here and a rune spawns here. And it's right next to where you place the wards. Yes. So the key thing to notice is when in doubt, if you're new to warding and especially in the beginning of the game, it's huge, is place the ward on one of those 4 positions. We'll go back to that. One of those 4 positions next to the rune. So here, 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 or here are great places to ward. Okay? You'll also notice that they are a little bit raised up. That is because the higher you are, the more vision you will get. Because if you placed a ward down here, you actually won't be able to see the tops of these because high ground has vision. It's just like in real life. Okay? So you always want to have your ward on high ground whenever you can. Okay? So let's go ahead and go into it. So they place their ward down. Now, what you can see is Shadow Shaman's going to place a ward down soon here. He's going to place a ward down right here, okay? So they go here, but it can go here. This actual ward, you can see the power of it. It can still see that rune. So it can't see that ward or that place, but it can still see that rune. And actually, I don't mind that. I actually personally, I love that warding position. I really do. Because what it does is it allows to see ganks coming for this team. This tri-lane, it wants to be aware, you know, map awareness. It can see if this mid character, mid typically like is a great character to gank with, going into up top lane or bottom lane for ganks, is they can come down through here, and it gives more vision for, say, if they come through here, or if they're going in through here. It gives just a wider bit of range to see where support is. So that's why I like either the ward here or the ward here, so you can see your jungle. Because if the ward was up over here, they don't get too much sight over here, so they can so the enemy team can kind of sneak. So I like to keep it on my own side in the beginning, and then maybe push it into the opposing side later on. Now, something that they could have done in the beginning, and you will see pros do this from time to time, is actually Azalar did have a sentry ward. They were getting pressured right here in the beginning, but I felt like he could have gone in here later. He could have placed this ward down, the sentry ward down right here, because you know the wards in the beginning are usually around this area. So if you place the sentry ward down here, he can then see that they have warded there, and then de-warding would be then, now that he can see that ward, he can go and attack it, kill off their ward. Now they don't have their sight. They'd either have to place another ward or live without sight for a little while. They probably would end up placing another ward, which again makes them lose money because they purchased that ward and didn't really get any use out of it. So that would be de-warding, but right now they just have their wards up, and that's fine and dandy, okay? Now supports. We're doing the supports. Throwing up a ward right here is Shadow Shaman, Observer Ward. They're probably going to be pushed back a lot because they're going to be keeping stuff towards their tower, and that will be helped with lane pulling, which I'll show how. Because these 3 are doing an offensive tri-lane, they're going to be pushing through the creeps a lot, and they're going to be this defensive tri-lane is going to be pushed up against their tower a lot. So they're not going to get, their vision is probably going to really end up to about here. So this ward right here will give them vision all the way up to here, which is very, very advantageous, as it will allow them to get a whole wide range of view, which we'll see, of what the opposing team is doing in their offensive tri-lane, so that no surprises are coming to them, okay? Now you see, so Azalar's kind of just sitting back right now, and so the 2 supports are just sitting back. There's just 1 person coming in, that's the only person they see, and they're just going to let Juggernaut farm, which is great. That's their carry, so he's going to farm. Now, coming up, this is going to be a pull. Before that though, I just want to show you. So, a tri-lane, your carry is always going to be trying to get that farm. That's their job, okay? You are kind of sitting back. This guy might be a little bit more forward. He could harass. He could be denying as well. But he's really just letting his carry just take all of it and do everything. And he's just kind of sitting back there. And he can come in and support us later. Say this person comes in a little bit. Say Brax comes in. MMY, you better believe, is going to come in and lay down some support and make sure that Brax doesn't do anything to Burning, so that Burning can get his farm and Brax will be pushed back, okay? Now pull is going to come up here soon. What you'll notice is basically what a pull is these are neutral creeps. All these little spots that we kind of went over, all these little camps, these are all neutral creeps. Same thing in their enemy jungle, neutral creeps, or the dire jungle, neutral creeps. Neutral creeps, basically what that means is that they're creeps that can be attacked by both sides, and that both sides creeps will attack as well. So what he's going to do is right now, these creeps, as they are just going to run down this lane to this tower. Should nothing happen, okay? And what that will do is that will keep a constant inflow of creeps pushing, so that, you know, as you typically see, is creeps push up here, tower, you know, kills the creeps, and then the dire creeps push back down, Tower kills the creeps, Radiant pushes back up. It's a never-ending cycle. Now, if you can take those creeps out, this is what pulling does, is it takes those creeps out of the equation so that there's no reinforcements here, and these creeps just keep funneling into the tower for the time being, which gives Burning the chance to safely hit and last hit under the tower, keeping the enemy team at bay, okay? So we're going to go ahead and see that. So basically what QQQ is going to do is he's going to hit the creeps, which will cause them to aggro him, and he's going to run out into the forest. They're going to follow him for a distance, and he's going to time it so that these creeps arrive here just at the time that these creeps arrive there, and then they will both aggro each other, and then these creeps will be running back, and these creeps are going to follow. Saying that very, very well. The timing is something to play with, but we're going to go ahead and watch the timing, okay? So let's see when he aggroes. He aggroes now. Okay, so that's as soon as he aggroes. So as soon as he aggroes, the creeps are right here. So if you look down at your mini-map, the creeps are basically just past, you know, this clump of trees right here, which you can see on the mini-map is just right there, okay? So you'll notice if you're preparing to pull and you want to get that timing right, because sometimes people will miss it, and this is a range character too. It's going to be a little bit different timing when you're on a melee character because you have a little bit farther to run. So he's right here, okay? As he aggroes those creeps right when those creeps are there, okay? So that's the timing. That's when he does it. So now he's going to run out towards these creeps, and you'll notice is these creeps fall into these creeps, and these creeps are like, hey, we're going to kill you. And then these creeps are running back to the base because they can only get pulled so far. And these creeps are like, well, we're going to follow you now. Boom. Now those creeps are creeping. These creeps have killed those creeps and are now pushing to the tower with no reinforcements. Otherwise, their creeps would have been about here right now, and the fight would have been away from their tower. So now, he can go ahead and last hit under the tower, and that is the beauty of supports. Now you can see that these enemy guys are coming in. They know that pulling's going on. They're smart. They've seen this all before. They know that their creeps are not meeting resistance where they should be. So they're going to go check out this pulling because they know something's happened, okay? What actually helps about this is you might think of like, okay, if one person is getting a lot of experience because in a solo lane because they're not sharing experience, you know, isn't it bad for the carry to he's not getting that much experience because he's in a lane with 3 people, right? So all of that experience is being split between 3 people. So isn't that bad? I mean, I know he's getting, you know, great safe farm, but he's not really getting levels, and levels are important on a carry. It's a good question. What usually happens in this is that actually you have 2 people that stay in the lane, the lane support that supports the carry, and then the carry getting his farm, and then the hard support, or the pull support, say, is actually pulling, and what he'll do is all of his experience, you can see he's not in range of these creeps right now, and he hasn't been for a while, is he's getting his experience from these pull creeps, from these jungle creeps. When you can actually notice too is he's actually setting up to pull these creeps. When these creeps are done, he's going to do a double pull. He's going to pull these creeps down to these creeps. Now that's not actually going to happen because these people are going to ruin the party. OLGD International. But let's go ahead and watch. So that will solve the problem of not being able to get all that experience. So you'll notice he'll be at a little bit disadvantage of not having that level. Ooh, this is key too. We're to go into that, but let me finish my thought. So as you can see, staying in the lane, these guys have 162, 153 experience, okay, which is about normal. Luna has about 131, Lushrak's really low, and Misery is about 51. Okay, so they've kind of not been in the lane as well. They're really hoping giving Brax a lot of the farm in there as well. And Keeper of the Light, QQQ, has about 41 HP. So they're still getting, your carry's still getting your experience. Okay, your solo experience, obviously, they're at level 2, so he's not too far behind. I mean, he's always going to be behind solo carries, but he's not too far behind. Okay, so he's still doing fine. So that's where he's going to be. So this hard support's not going to be getting a lot of Zalor's not going to be getting a lot of levels. He's not going to be getting a lot of experience, a lot of levels. But that's okay because he's a support. He doesn't really need the levels. He doesn't need the items. He doesn't need all that stuff to really to provide an impact into this game and into team fights. Now, it's not to say that you want to be okay with being behind in levels. You don't want the other team to just, get, say, 6 levels higher than you. That's bad, okay? So you do still want to get levels and get as much experience as you can, but don't worry if you're a little bit behind. It's not the end of the world as a support, okay? Now, what's huge about this ward is, as we talked about, or we haven't really talked about, is When these creeps kill these neutral creeps, they're gone, and they won't respawn until every top of the minute. So every minute, on 0-0, these creeps will respawn. However, they will not respawn if a creep or a hero or anything is within their spawn radius. Okay. Now you might think that their spawn radius is right here, just in this little, enclave of trees. But this sentry ward, as we'll find out, is actually in their spawn area, and it will cause them not to spawn. So this ward is huge for them because it gives them, true sight to see if they have any wards in this jungle area, but it also blocks creeps, the neutral creeps, from respawning, so that they can no longer pull this lane, which will make it so that this lane is being pushed out a little farther, which is good for them, bad for Team Radiant. So you'll see they'll actually want to get rid of this sentry ward, and they will try to later, and we'll see how that goes down. So right now, they were coming in, they're trying to get a gank. No gank's coming off. Zalar's getting, the experience from that. He's going to go ahead, get back into this lane real quick, just kind of provide some support. Carry's still getting farm. They view all of this that's going on right now, so they can be careful as well. And then boom, they're up here. Now, Zalar's just kind of chilling, again, pulling support. This ward's going to be huge. Remember, top of the minute. So about 10 seconds, they would have things. Now, what's huge here, sentry ward. Okay, now, you're wondering, let's actually go through the thought process of this. I think it was Misery that had the sentry wards. Why does he have the sentry wards? Because he's an invis hero. What you have to understand is when you get to the upper echelon of games, basically, and you're playing invis heroes, is when you're playing kind of like, maybe like the lower public games, when you play an invisible hero, you might feel super imba and overpowered and everything like that, because no one gets detection. No one thinks about it. They're just like, oh, I got ganked by an invisible hero. I don't know what to do. Invisible heroes are so imbalanced. Invisible heroes are the easiest thing to counter. Get sentry wards. Like I said, sentry wards provide true sight, so that you can see when this guy, if he goes invis. Now, obviously, he can't go invis until he's level 6, but he's just, trying to get that down there, seeing if they're planning for it and everything like that. Okay, so he put that down there. Or maybe he's trying to see if they have a ward. This ward is just out of reach of that ward, so it's nice. They can't see that ward. However, you also want to, he's probably planning this down because he's trying to counter ward. He's trying to see if they have any wards, because he doesn't want them to have wards and know if they're trying to set up a gank or do anything like that. And what's great about this is he puts this ward down, it instantly can see that ward, and now they're going to kill it, and such is the life of dewarding. Now they have dewarded. This poor Misery is wallowing in misery because he has wasted a little bit of gold. He's probably not really wallowing in misery, but he's wasted a little bit of gold by losing that sentry ward. Okay, supports, again, using their nukes, using their abilities. As you can see, they've already been able to get Brax down to half health just from using some of their abilities. And they're only level 2 and 1, I believe. Okay, Zalar going on a mission. He's got his invisibility. He's probably gonna check out, try to do this. So he's leaving. Juggernaut's in there. Now, there we go. MMY was looking for a pole to set up because their lane is being pushed to their tower right now. They want it to be pushed back. So he wants to pull these creeps so that they'll be pushed back. He notices now that there's no creeps here, and there should have been creeps 30 seconds ago, but this ward is killing it. So he's going to communicate with the Zalar that, hey, they've warded our neutral camp. We can't pull. So he can't pull, so he's going to go back into lane and support Juggernaut. Zalar's going to try to get off something right now. He's trying to get off basically a gank, but you'll see him come back into it. So that hard support can kind of, go in between lanes as he can. This lane support is always going to stay with Juggernaut, especially against this offensive tri-lane. So here comes the communication. So he knows that this lane, these neutral creeps aren't respawning. So there has to be a ward or something causing them not to respawn. So he's going to plant that down. Huge mistake though. He didn't see this ward yet. Okay, he sees that there's no creeps here. Now, Misery obviously saw QQQ because he saw with his ward. You're able to get a little bit sight of this. He was able to see QQQ come in range. More importantly, he saw that this ward came down. So he doesn't want them killing this ward because he wants to keep that ward up for as long as possible so they can't get pulls. And he wants to kill this ward so they don't find this ward. QQQ needs to find this ward, but he's not going to because it's blocked by trees. Excellent ward placement right here, as you'll see. QQQ knows something's up, doesn't know what to do about it, trying to find that ward. Misery's going to go ahead and find this ward first. And such is the life of dewarding. Warding, counter-warding, sad, sad life. These creeps are going to come up into this lane, and they will not be pulled, so that these creeps will stay up there. So, lane's being pushed out. You know, 1437 is just checking, making sure everything's good. All of that stuff. So, that, ladies and gentlemen, that is warding and pulling in a whole big nutshell of pro play. Okay, so let's go ahead and recap from that real quick. Okay, so when you're supporting, warding is huge. Okay, make sure you get those wards up. If you don't know exactly where to put the wards, or it's kind of skeptical and everything like that, put them around the runes. The best two places, best four places, here, dire and radiant side, as well as up here, and here, dire and radiant side. And of course, my thing is if you see this symbol, just put a ward there. Don't forget these two. There's ones up here, and then there's this one on the opposite side, on the radiant side down here, which is super high, and it'll give you all this sight right around here. And you'll usually, if you're radiant side, you put it on the dire side. If you're dire side, you put it on the radiant side over here. Okay. Again, that's towards later in the game when you're pushing in. Right now, just remember those 4 spots on the runes, and as you can see here, they're warded. So make sure you have those wards up, ward often, and counter warding, dewarding, using the sentry wards is a little more, I would say, it's not really an advanced technique, but it's the next level of technique. If you get warding down, then move into dewarding. Dewarding is huge. It will make the other team crazy because they won't be expecting it. In normal public play matches, people will not be expecting it, and it's a great way to just cause them to wallow in self-doubt and misery and all that good stuff, what you want from the enemy team. The next thing is pulling. Another great fundamental of supports is pulling the lane, and that's what we saw Zal'ar do. And you can notice is when the creeps get to about right here was where the creeps were. If you're a range character, it'll be maybe a little bit sooner, or maybe a little bit farther back if you're a melee character. But when the creeps get to about right here, you're going to go ahead and aggro these creeps and then just drag them straight through these trees right here so that the creeps meet, that pulls them into here. You can then get the experience and last hits as a support on these creeps, and then it will allow your carry to farm under the tower and safe protection. Okay, so that is pulling. It is huge. Pulling, warding, dewarding. Okay, 3 things that we just went over. That is the basic fundamentals of support, okay, as well as helping out your team. Now, I'm going to go into another game. Actually, I'll go ahead and queue it up right now. That will actually show the advantages. Actually, yeah, it was the first game. Okay, I just want to make sure I have my right replay. It'll show the advantages and just buffs of support. Like supports in action early game are so ridiculous and so great if you're playing them right and if you're playing them smart. Okay, so let's go ahead and queue this up. Show you the power. Okay, so let's go to it. Ooh, okay. Let me go ahead and speed through this real quick. We go. And actually, I'm gonna go slow it down on my free camera. So what we're gonna be looking at basically is we're gonna be doing another offensive tri-lane, and this one's gonna be done by LGD. They did the offensive tri-lane as well, but they're doing offensive tri-lane on the Radiant side now. You have the support, lane support being offered by 1437, which is Leshrac. You have your carry being played by Pycat, playing the Lycan. And then you have your actual other support, which isn't really in the lane, really isn't in this offensive tri-lane yet. Or he's not really part of the tri-lane, but he is going to be a support in this top side. Don't forget about him because he will be huge coming in soon, okay? So Misery here is going to be doing a great offensive jungling because they don't have a jungler on their team really. You know, maybe a Beastmaster, but not really, okay? So but this is the beauty of kind of scouting this out. He's going to be, offensive juggling. So I'm just going to show you the power of supports early on in this game. Okay, so Pycat is the carry. It's going to be a little bit weak. He's the carry. He's item dependent. He's farm dependent. And we're going to go ahead and see that. And then they're going against a solo Queen of Pain. Okay, should notice. So, getting out his, his wolves, just trying to get something. And as you can see, Pycat's taking a lot of damage right now.
No use crying
okay,
over spilled
just from
blood.
the one ability, as well as the one auto tag. So you can see how carries are very, very weak early on game, and this is why supports are so great. Such friendly heroes, such unsung heroes early on in the game. Now, let's go ahead and pause it. Okay, remember what I told you? Not to take your eye off of Misery? Because here he comes. Okay, so this is the great thing. So an ability on Chen, we won't really go into it, but an ability on Chen is that he can enchant creep. So he enchanted this creep. This creep is now his, and one of the great abilities of this creep is Ensnare, which basically tosses a netting around the opposing hero, causing them, immobilizing them, so that they basically cannot move. Okay, and what he's seen is that this is a level 1 Queen of Pain. She does not have her blink up, which is going to be very, very sorry for her, and she's going to get caught. So this is the power support. So we have Misery, and we have Leshrac. And I'm going to go ahead and spell it out for you just beforehand. So we know that this troll with a netting is coming in here, and this is all being powered from support Misery, support Chen, and then support Leshrac has got this great Split Earth, which does a stun. Okay, so let's just go ahead and see how this works out. Pycat's at half health because he's trying to farm out, and he's also carry. But let's watch these supports. Oh, there's my play button. There we go. Okay. So, farming the lane, farming the lane. Oh, there's the net. She's trapped in. Pycat's coming in. There's the stun. And boom. Oh, okay, that is a power support. Totally over... I don't know, what do you want to say? Like, that's just like, I don't know, it's a perfect example. I don't want to say it's like over imbalanced or over exaggerated or whatever. That is the power of support. So coming in, you have your snare, then you have a stun. It's just a chain immobilized. It's ridiculous. Pycat's able to go and get a couple hits. He didn't get the last hit, but that's okay. If you're a support, you would really want to let your carry get that last hit and everything like that. But with pro games, they really just want to make sure they get that kill. So at times like that. But that's just the power of support, as you can see. And then actually what you'll see is the ramifications from that as we continue on into this. So that was just a kill, okay? But remember, that's 1 minute 14 seconds into the game. That's an early kill. Now she's going to try to teleport back in, but she sees what's going on here. She doesn't want to 1v3 against these guys anymore. That's not going to be good for her. So she cancels her TP, which actually costs her 135 gold, which is unfortunate for her. Again, power of the supports. And now look at these supports. They're able to keep Pycat in lane. They're able to keep these creeps going against this tower. And look at this tower going down. This is just ridiculous, okay? And Misery, just able to, get a new creep. And look at this support action right here. Another creep. The Diabolic Edict coming in there. And 1 minute 50 seconds into the game, 1 minute 50 seconds into the game, they have a tier 1 tower down, okay? Now I know Chen is a great support. And I know that, Chen teleport OP. Chen teleport OP. I don't, okay, hold on a second. I need to get, yes, test of faith, teleport. Anyways, Chen doesn't really have teleport. We'll get into that later. But, just comment from one of the users. So, yes, I did get new headphones. So, actually, these aren't the newest headphones. I know I'm totally going off on a subject right now. These aren't the newest headphones. These are actually kind of my old headphones. But I will have the new headphones for Random Thursday. We'll see. I don't know. But anyways, so again, going back to the power supports. 1 minute 50 seconds into the game, you have a tower down. Now, I know a Chen is a pusher. And I know that Lycan is a pusher. And I know Leshrac is a pusher. Okay? But you combine all three of them together, just look how amazing it is. And look how the supports, they were able to get off an early kill. Look how those supports were able to get off such an early, huge tower and everything like that. So if you want to look no further for an example on just how big and how impactful supports are in this game, okay? So that was really just early game. I can't, I'm going to talk about the next kind of phases real quick But I just wanted to show you because really early game is where supports shine so much. Now supports are definitely huge always into the games, okay? But the role is going to change. But the early game is making sure it's just, like I said, nurturing, suckling that carry, okay? Because if you give it love, if you give it good nurture, it's going to take care of you towards that end part, that last phase of the game, and you're going to love yourself, and you're going to be that unsung hero, and it's going to be great, okay? Also warding, which is going to allow you to do those two fundamental things of positioning and awareness, and then just carrying a TP scroll, which will, you can use that position. So warding, pulling that lane so that you can keep by your tower, and then just nurturing and suckling that carry. That's your 3 jobs as a support in the early game, which I call the laning phase. Okay. Next part, when you go into the mid game, which is I call it sort of the pushing phase. And it might be like from that last example, the pushing phase obviously happened in the first 2 minutes of the game, which really was a laning game. That can happen. That's okay. But really, the mid game is all about pushing, as well as initial team fights and more and more not like one-on-one ganks, but more like team-based engagements, I'm going to say. So pushing and team-based engagements. Now what that's going to be is that as a support, you're going to want to be in those team engagements, okay? You might find that, specifically with hard carries, they're going to stay in those lanes and they're going to keep on farming. But you as a support, remember, you don't care about that farm really so much. Be where your team is at. Be where those fights are at so that you can either counter push and protect your tower, or be on the push offensive, or be on a team fight, which goes again into carrying a TP scroll. Okay, so if you want to be involved, I'm gonna slide over here. I just scratched my ankle. So if you want to be involved in those team fights, carry a TP scrolls. But go and as you saw, like kind of as Zalar did, basically in the laning phase, is he kind of moved in to mid lane and try to put down on a gank. Didn't get the gank off, but you know what? He tried. That's what you need to be doing. And you need to be very, very aware as a support in mid-game as where are things happening? Is something happening over there? I need to be there. Because that's where you're going to support your team. You're a support. You're supporting your team, right? You need to be where the action is at. As well as what you can do is we talked about like stacking the creeps, or actually we didn't talk about stacking the creeps. That's going to be another episode, stacking and all that stuff. But you can stack ancients. If you don't know about what it is right now, don't worry about it, but you can stack ancients during the mid game, as well as warding. Yes, you're going to be warding the whole game. So mid game, still ward, and pushing, just because it is the pushing phase. All right. Late game, I call the carry phase. Okay, so this is where all of that hard work that you put in on the early game is you're going to reap it, and you're just going to reap what you sowed. Okay, so you can reap it by leaps and bounds. So if you put in a lot of nurturing and a lot of love to your carry, he's going to come right back and he's going to carry you into the sunset, into that victory that you really, really want. Okay, so same thing for here though, is you're still gonna be in those you're still gonna be where the action is. Okay, it's gonna be a lot more team fights, a lot more of team pushing and all of that stuff in the in the carry phase, the late game. So you're just gonna automatically be there. Okay, so and then the same thing with like the kind of like, I didn't really mention it, but like same with the mid game is when you're in that team phase. Use your abilities. Use your abilities early. Use them often, okay? Because you're not the one looking to get those last hits, right? So if you have a high power nuke, use it, because there's a difference between entering a team battle in which you kind of like systematically try to devour a team, and then maybe you use your huge nuke off and you get that last kill, then entering that battle and using that nuke from the beginning, and as soon as you're entering that battle, the enemy team has half health. What is more detrimental, or what is more of like a morale like detriment? Coming into a team fight with the rest of your team being at half health, that is rough, because what that allows your carry to mop up afterwards, okay? And then as well as using all of your whatever your other abilities are, whatever your items are that you have at that point, making sure to use your heals, use your mana, spam all that bad, spam your disables, use all that stuff, and let your carry do his job, which is laying down that damage and killing the other team. As well as in the carry phase, what should you still be doing? Warding and pushing. Always doing that. So be where the action is at. That's kind of what you'll be doing towards the later parts of the game. I'm not concentrating on those hugely, because you will learn those while you play. You can watch how the pros do it, and as I believe the beginning, especially with this fundamental videos, the beginning part of the game, the early game, the the push, the laning phase is really the fundamental part of it, because everything else builds up off of that. If you have huge successes in that, it's going to carry over, okay? Now, it's not to say that you have a for sure win. No, the game isn't decided by any means in the early game, okay? But it can actually help. And if you look at like how a game's ended, you can usually track it back to mistakes that were made in the early phase, okay? In the early game, all right? Now, obviously, you can, if you have a bad early game, you can still come back from it. Don't just throw away your game. But definitely, you should really, really concentrate on, especially as a support, on having a great and fantastic early game. So that's why we concentrated on it. Ending notes before we end. I know we're getting into the end anyway. So ending notes, main thing is, as a support, be vocal. Because here's why. There's so much going on in Dota 2, and because you are the one that's warding, and you're the one that's, for the most part, having that awareness, you need to have that awareness, and you need to let your team know what's happening. Okay, so be vocal. Whether it's through a mic is preferred. Obviously, I'll always prefer a mic, but whether it's through a mic or whether it's through chatting and text, be vocal. Let your team know what's happening. Let your team know, hey, this guy just went through my ward. Hey, aren't wards awesome? Aren't you glad that I warded? Yeah, you kind of boost yourself up too. But let people know. Be vocal. Share your awareness. All right. Also learn positioning. Okay, it's very, very. What you'll notice is it's very, very important for supports to know positioning, because you can't just be in the middle of a team fight as a support. You're going to be squishy. You're going to be easily taken down and disabled. You also don't want to get disabled, because if you get disabled, then how are you going to use your disables, or how are you going to use your support ability? So positioning, have your, like I was saying in the beginning, have your carry in between you and the enemy team and all that stuff, so the carry can just kill the enemy team. All right. So positioning, you'll learn that as you play. That's right. Never stop warding. Always get wards. Always. If they're on cooldown and you can't buy them, know exactly when they're going to be up. And as soon as they're up, buy some new ones and go out and ward. And then the last thing for playing a support is you have to be a team player, okay? Because essentially, you are the unsung hero of the game, all right? When people look at a game and they look at it at the final, like, oh, the final scoreboard that comes down when the game ends, a lot of people, it just tends to be, the first thing to look for is kills to death ratio. And the one that typically has the best kill to death ratio is the carry, and they're going to be like, man, the carry is so great. It's why people love to be the carries. But I'm telling you, games aren't won by the carries. I mean, they can be, but really how I feel is support is the most important aspect of a team. You have to be support. Okay, you have to be a good player, and you have to be a team player. Because if you're not a team player, you shouldn't be playing Dota 2 at all. But if you're not a team player and you're playing support, go play a carry. Go play a ganker. Go play a ganker. Great. If a ganker's like, you can solo whatever, off on your own. Okay, you have to be a team player, because you have to understand that you're not going to get the fame and fortune at the end of it, but you're going to be the reason why the team wins when it comes down to it. So that's my ending notes. I hope you guys enjoyed. This was the introduction again to support. Go out there, play some support your team, win the games, and know that you were the one that actually won the game. And I will know too. So have fun, play Dota, learn Dota.